everybody, and welcome to the weekend review edition of the Total Soccer Show. I am your host in Richmond, Virginia, Taylor Rockwell. Joining me is your host in Charlotte, North Carolina, a gentleman who did not kick Sadio Mane today and is therefore a better defender than Serge Aurier. It's Ryan Bailey. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, Tay. Thanks for having me back this week. A pleasure to be back with you. Yes, it's lovely in Charlotte, North Carolina today. It was 84 degrees, and it's like the end of October, which is bonkers. And I just looked on Twitter, and trending on Twitter is hashtag awfully British ways to keep warm, because it's jolly cold where I come from right now, and that makes me feel good about my current sitch.
It should. It definitely should. It did not make me feel so good today when I had two outdoor games, one of which was canceled, so at least there's that. But the other one I finished, and it was being played at the exact same time as the NWSL final. Virginia, North Carolina, pretty close to each other. So when I got home and found out that they had hydration breaks and all that nice stuff and a full complement of substitutions, I was slightly jealous. We are going to talk the NWSL final a little bit later, which did happen in North Carolina, although I'm going to assume Charlotte and Raleigh, not exactly the easiest route to get to, Ryan.
It's a little bit of a commute. It's Carey, right? Which is not quite Raleigh.
Yes.
Am I thinking right?
No, I believe you are. See, this is why we have you here, for the specificity. That's why we need you. And we need you to help review all of the things that happened this past weekend. We're going to start off with the Premier League because there were some crazy things in the Premier League. We're going to get to Christian Pulisic. Don't worry, we're going to get to a lot of the other things that happened, but we're going to start with the result today. Liverpool 2, Tottenham 1. We're going to do it in the thumbs up, thumbs down fashion, or we're going to utilize some thumbs here, Ryan. Where would you like to start with this one?
Shall we start with a thumbs... How about a thumbs up for Liverpool being really, really, really good?
Yep, I think that's fair. No, why was there hesitation there, though?
I was just thinking there's lots of things to talk about in this game, and particularly rather than starting on the negative foot with Tottenham, I thought it better to start positive. Liverpool now unbeaten, 45 home games. This is their third win against a Big Six team this season. And they just look like no one could come near them apart from maybe Man City at the moment, don't they? This is a very dominant display. I think it's really showed the gap in quality between these two teams at the moment. And it seems like since the Champions League final, which was nearly 150 days ago now, can you believe it? These two teams have kind of gone on disparate paths. Liverpool getting stronger and stronger. Tottenham doing the opposite of stronger and stronger. And this game was kind of the opposite of that game in that it was sort of Spurs who took the early lead and the game wasn't killed off as it was in the Champions League final.
It was not. But I would say it did feel in moments like it was not going to matter because Spurs got their early goal courtesy of Harry Kane, and then Liverpool had, I believe, 400 chances before eventually equalizing and eventually getting the winner. And I want to say with that in mind, thumbs up to Liverpool's general disposition, which is an interesting way to start with this one for me, but it is the case that as I was watching, these guys never really got frustrated. You never saw them start to lose it or get agitated when somebody would shoot if somebody else was open. At least from my recollection, from my note taking, I never saw that really frustrated, gesturing at their own feet. It was just more of positive, occasionally bemused. Firmino on multiple occasions seemed very confused as to how he had not yet scored. But I think that level of positivity and self-belief is the big difference right now for Liverpool in terms of how they're able to figure out a way to get through and get the result. Obviously, tactics and individual play important as well, but that mentality, I think, will go a long way.
Yeah, definitely. This was all about mentality, this game, really, wasn't it? It was the response to that early goal and the possession they had and the press they had after that early goal for pretty much the next 70 minutes or so was just so intense, wasn't it? It was really good from them. And I think it was 12 shots on target to Tottenham's 4, if my numbers are right. And I do make up about 82% of numbers I say, so be careful on that. I think they had 70% possession as well. It was just, I don't know what more to say apart from Liverpool were a much better team here. Spurs didn't, I suppose they were buoyed slightly by that Champions League midweek result, and they were better in some ways, but certain players who are going to get a thumbs down, I'm afraid, Tate. I'm giving those to Christian Eriksen and Mr. Dele Alli, both of whom... Did they want to be there? I'm not even sure.
It's a fair question, especially for Christian Eriksen, because I was sort of had the game on and then I had my phone, so I was scrolling Twitter every now and then, and there seemed to be a lot of frustration with Christian Eriksen, and so I can't tell if I just started to pay attention to it more, but he definitely just looked far more sluggish as the game went on. We stopped seeing some of those really accurate crossfield balls that we saw from him in the first 15 minutes or so. And instead, it just seemed like a complete lack of focus from him, exemplified by the fact that I believe Liverpool's, I think the winning penalty, it starts with him just being sloppy and sort of being slow on the ball. He gets robbed by Wijnaldum. Trent Alexander-Arnold clears long, and it goes into the path of Sadio Mane. But even there, the kind of lackluster play from Eriksen really comes back to haunt Tottenham.
Yeah, it just didn't look bothered in general. And I'm going to also be down, maybe give a thumbs down even, to Mauricio Pochettino as well, because I didn't think it was just the players on the field that sort of let it down. I think his tactics, I think he got it wrong in general here. I think that when you go against Liverpool, you need to try and go toe-to-toe. You need to go at them, kind of in many ways, the way that people have unlocked Man City this season. I think that, they could have gone with a bit of pace up top, like I suppose Man United tried. Instead, they got Kane up top when they maybe could have played him deeper and put someone else. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. But
no, I think just to jump in for a moment there, I think it's a really smart point, because if you do have Harry Kane up there, if you're looking to sort of combine with Son and have it be like a front two, and he can kind of make those darting runs into the channels with pace, and then Harry Kane can be there to get on the end of a cross or vice versa, that makes more sense. But if you're looking to sort of dump it long over the top and catch Liverpool out, that's not really going to be Harry Kane.
Right.
Not to say that he's particularly slow. Daryl always talks about how slow he is. I don't think he's that slow, but he is not going to be one to beat Virgil van Dijk, who I think is like the second fastest player in Premier League history or something like that. So I didn't quite get that game plan either, for sure.
Yeah, I think I suppose that's what I'm getting at, and I don't know. I just think Spurs know how to press. They know how to be furious, but they weren't furious, I suppose, is what went wrong here. And I tell you what else went wrong, Tay.
What's that?
Those penalty decisions, particularly that penalty decision in the singular, I should say. How about that? What do you think about that?
So, are you saying thumbs down to that penalty decision, or are you just saying that penalty decision in general? What do I make of it? Would you like to hear my thoughts on it? Because I'm going to say thumbs up to Sadio Mane for causing the pressure, for never giving up on the ball. I think he has a chance. He works back. He tries to get on the end of it. And then I'm going to say thumbs up to a correctly given penalty, because even though I don't think Sergio Aurier knows Sadio Mane is there, this same thing happened, I believe, to Virgil van Dijk last season. Doesn't realize Eric Lamela is there. There's contact, penalty given. It happened to Jack Wilshere a couple of years ago for Arsenal. You have these, Aaron Ramsey, not Jack Wilshere. You have these moments when I think players will just sort of be trying to clear the ball. They make contact, and it's unfortunate, but it is still you're kicking them in the shin and making them fall over, kicking them in the calf and making them fall over.
Yeah.
So I get why it's given, and I understand why Tottenham fans might feel hard done. Sergio Aurier certainly did, but I'm not really buying that narrative so much.
I can see why it was given. I can see why the law dictates that he did kick him and he fell over. I get that. But I just think that Aurier had no idea that he was coming. Kind of sneaked up on him, didn't he? Aurier, he did really well in that move up until that point. He did well to get down on the floor. He won the ball off Mane. He recovered well. And then sort of Mane, he obstructed him basically in many ways, I think you could say. That it was an obstruction of sorts. And
so you don't have an issue with the kicking, he didn't know, so it shouldn't have been given. It's more so are you arguing that Sadio Mane initiates the contact and then the kick happens?
I think it's more that Aurier, there's no intent there. His intent is to hoof the ball away, and Mane puts a leg in front of him. But my real beef about this, is that moments before this happened, Eric Lamela was kicked pretty hard from behind by Virgil van Dijk, doing an attempted clearance, i.e. the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. Nothing was given there.
Interesting. So that happened. I missed that in this game.
The same crime at the other end of the field, not long before. Virgil van Dijk walloping Lamela from behind. Nothing.
And was this? I missed this. Was this on the ball?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I think you've got a legitimate beef there, Ryan Bailey. I can't so much disagree with that one.
I mean, there's been a lot of VAR flashpoints this weekend. We'll probably touch on them because VAR is all we ever talk about ever these days.
Pretty much.
I think, it's just inconsistency, isn't it? You can apply these things, but you've got to apply it fairly.
I think you do. I think it also helps for Liverpool when they have the crowd that they do at Anfield. It was one thing I tweeted about this. I enjoyed it a lot. Whenever the crowd gets into it and helps with the directions, I think it helps you sort of, you can hear things better. You can react faster. So maybe that gives them the advantage, even if they're already getting it slightly from VAR. But I did just enjoy the entire stadium saying man on multiple occasions. I think most of the time it was to Fabinho, but just that sort of everybody in the moment thinking I've got to let him know. I always enjoy it when collectively you hear the entire crowd scream man on.
When you're watching a game, you do the same thing, right?
Oh yes, I definitely do. I'm not proud of it, but there are definitely moments like, oh no, man, on. like it's not quite as effective when I'm 4,000 miles away or whatever I am. But I still try. I still try to do my part, Ryan. Anything else you'd like to talk about from Liverpool 2, Tottenham 1?
I'm all set on that. I think I'm pretty happy with the way this game went. I think the right team won. I still think that Liverpool, if they don't win it this season, they never will. Frankly.
I mean, it's a valid argument, especially I think with what I was talking about earlier with that sort of just the general disposition, the belief. It feels like that's a key thing that you have to have. And I think about like how they were able to just turn this around. They kept going. Like they certainly made adjustments and tried to cause problems wherever they could, and they moved Henderson forward and tried to pin people back. But with all that said, I think an aspect of just like backing themselves to get the result is a thing that maybe there have been criticisms about Liverpool for not doing that in the past, and so that they did it today could end up being a very big result. City obviously still win, so I think the gap is still only 6 points?
Yeah, there's still a gap though. That's the point. And you say belief. Their belief is very important for a team in this. It's so mental, isn't it? And I think John Mayer said it best. Belief is a beautiful armor that makes for the heaviest sword, which was John Mayer's way of saying, don't mess this up in like March or April, Liverpool. Don't do that.
I think that might be the first John Mayer quote on the show, although you may have done one previously. But that feels like the official time to move on from this conversation and go on to Burnley 2, Chelsea 4. Ryan, I'm going to jump in here because I'm going to guess you can guess where my thumbs are going for this one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and give 2 big old thumbs up to Christian Pulisic. 4, as Daryl required me to say. He told me today I had to say it, for scoring 3 Pula goals after getting the Pula start and therefore getting a perfect Pula trick.
You pulled that one out of the bag. Nice one.
I try. I do think, like, the goals aside, he gets the goal with the left foot, he gets the goal with the right foot, he gets the header. I enjoyed all of them. They were varying degrees of, like, intentional mixed with scrappiness, mixed with some sloppiness and some defensive mistakes, but still a hat trick is a hat trick. I do think, though, that essentially, I'm convinced that Frank Lampard wants his attackers, his front 3 or front 4, to take people on individually, because I found myself being slightly uncomfortable. This is a completely American, like, pro-Pulisic perspective, I know, but I was like, well, is he being a little selfish? Like, do his teammates mind he's doing this as he scores 3 goals? I probably shouldn't care. But when Willian comes in, scores the 4th, he really does almost the exact same thing of take somebody on, does the scissors, does the step over, gets a little bit of space, gets that shot off. And I think we're starting to see Pulisic executing what Frank Lampard wants from him more in a more deliberate way, and scoring a hat trick certainly isn't going to hurt his chances of getting more time.
I think so, yeah. And by the way, on WhoScored.com, he got a 10 out of 10 rating. You don't see those every day.
You do not.
You do not see those every day. So that's very good from him, obviously. I really enjoyed the first goal, I think, the most. We sort of took the ball off of Loughton out of position, didn't he? He beat, was it Tarkowski, I think?
Yep.
And then who was the nutmeg? The nutmeg was Ben Mee, wasn't it? But it was like take the ball, skillfully beat someone, then meg someone to absolutely destroy Burnley's confidence from the 21st minute there. Really good performance from him. Do you think this is enough to ensure Pulisic gets more playing time, though? Because I saw some interesting comments, I think it was in the Mirror, from Lampard after the game, saying how he was kind of inferring the reason Pulisic hasn't been as involved as he had hoped up to this point was that match fitness, in that he only had a week to recover from his fun with the United States Mutant Ninja Turtles in the summer. So are you buying that in that, this might be a gradual introduction? We had him quite low in the depth chart of midfielders up to this point. Do we think he's climbed it now and having reached this fitness level that has allowed him to get perfect hat-tricks?
I do. I really do. And again, I don't think that is just me wanting that to be the case. I think in this case, listening to that Lampard quote, as you said, a 1 week break this summer. He came in early, which I loved. That's Frank Lampard talking. He got minutes early in the season, but we have competition at multiple places. And I think the thing that I really enjoyed about it is overall Frank Lampard, I go back to general disposition again, apparently, but like he just seemed sort of like amused by how concerned people seem to be, almost like, well, it's It's very simple. Like, that was kind of his demeanor when he was delivering that sort of explanation. And so it does make sense that if it's a new player coming in, I bet there is a little bit something else in there of like, and he didn't quite do what we were asking. He wasn't quite up to the level that we wanted him to be, or he wasn't quite comfortable doing what we wanted him to do. So we gave him some time to bed in and get more comfortable. I don't know if it means that he's like an automatic starter, but I'm also not necessarily certain that Frank Lampard has like an automatic 11 right now. Yeah. But I think he has certainly moved his way into that rotation conversation of getting consistent minutes, not just from the bench.
I think the stars have aligned for him, particularly in this game, in that some of the English stars have had lesser performances, particularly Mason Mount in this one wasn't up to much, was he? I haven't even got an assist, fair enough, but he was sub-Mount vintage, I would say.
Sub-Mount.
Sub-Mount. Tammy Abraham was a bit off too, I'd say. And I think in recent games there's been sort of a bit of chatter about his body language after wasting chances. And you know, have you noticed this at all? He seems a bit too frustrated.
Tammy Abraham, you mean?
Yeah.
I did notice, like, I do tend to watch celebrations probably more in depth than I should. As an example, for Pulisic's first goal, when he does the knee slide and does the scream, you can sort of tell it really, really, really does mean something to him. Aside from scoring his first goal in the Premier League, it did feel a little bit like he needed that moment to sort of get a lot of the pressure off. Yeah. And I say that to say that when he scores the second and goes running to the opposite side of the field, Tammy Abraham, like, jogs over, but you can see that moment of, like, I wanted that to be me. Which I'm not even saying as a criticism, because I think that's what you have to have as a striker. You have to have that desire to be like, I'm the one who's supposed to be scoring goals. I want more. And so if it is that of like, I am annoyed that I am not the one scoring, I think that's probably a healthy attitude for a striker to have. If it's, I'm annoyed and I don't want anyone else to get chances and I'm frustrated by my teammates, then more of a problem. But haven't seen any indicator that it is the latter, and more so I've seen indications that it's the former. I think I got that right.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. And maybe I'm reading too much into it as well. If we're done with
why did you see? Like, is there anything in particular you saw, or is it just a question you're raising?
I've just in the last few games just seen him look a bit frustrated, look a bit, and has wasted a few chances as well. And I just noticed a bit of chatter on the Twitters about it, and it sort of aroused my attention. I wanted to know if that was just a niche opinion, and maybe it is. But if we're done with that, and if we're done with
because I'm now obsessed with this idea of. Because we've had the Pulisic crisis of, is he ever going to play? Is he good enough? Does he need a loan? All that nonsense. Now we can move on to Abraham Watch, and we can see if his body language improves or if it does get worse. And now it's all on Tammy Abraham, and we can move away from Christian Pulisic. So, ball's in your court, Tammy. We'll see what he does.
Well, maybe, you know how like a rising tide lifts all boats? Maybe it's not that way at Chelsea. When one tide rises, others have to go down. There's sort of an equilibrium issue they've got there.
That does feel like a thing Roman Abramovich would insist upon, yes.
But if we're done with that and we're done with the Pulisic loving, the Puller praise, if you will.
I will.
I'd like to give thumbs up to Frank Lampard, a man who I've doubted up to this point. Obviously least experienced manager in this league, and what he may lack in sort of defensive nous and getting his starting 11 nailed down. Let's remember, by the way, Maurizio Sarri had a 4-0 at Burnley last season, so there's a 4-2 here. So, and this team is a bit leaky at the back, but I think where Lampard seems to be really winning is his man management. He's got these players firing, apart from the aforementioned Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham at the moment. But it seems like, this is the 7th consecutive victory in all competitions. 3 of those were clean sheets, actually, to be fair. They're up to 4th level with Leicester on points, and Leicester are flying. So maybe we're not even giving Chelsea enough credit. Maybe they deserve a bit more for this. And what I think the main Lampard effect has been on the fans as well. And, there's so many fans saying, even despite all the circumstances, this is the best Chelsea they've seen. Gary Hayes, the Chelsea insider, he was saying to me that this is the best Chelsea since that Mourinho vintage, the sort of 2004-05 Super Chelsea. And I think the feeling he's arousing in fans right now is really positive, and it seems like the transfer ban's been and his arrival has been a bit of a blessing in disguise in many ways. It's all come together to create a much more positive atmosphere at the club, even if they're not as watertight at the back, even if they're not 100% getting the results they want, even though at the moment they very much are.
I mean, I will say, like, I'll go negative and then positive. I was talking with my Chelsea supporting friend on Friday, and he was sort of like bragging about this and how have they managed to do this? How has he managed to get these great performances out of this like boned this bare bones squad, and like they don't have that much experience. And I was like they had 90 players on their books last season. Like, they're fine in terms of the number of players they have. That said, it is a team that I did not expect to be here. I never thought they would be in fourth place, certainly not at this point. And even those goals that you mentioned, like, yes, their defense could be a little bit more solid. I think of those, I mean, they've conceded more. I have the table in front of me. I think they've conceded more goals, except for like above everyone, except Aston Villa. So Aston Villa and below, so 15th and below. So that's how much Chelsea have conceded. But like today, those two goals are at the end. They're from distance. It feels a bit like the defense had switched off, which is probably not a great defense, but it is a little bit of an outlier there, a little bit of an asterisk for me. And so overall, I agree with you. Frank Lampard has done a much better job than I expected him to do, at the very least at this point. I didn't expect him to do a bad job, but I definitely had some questions, and at least a few of those have been answered so far. Yeah,
I've got a lot of respect for Frank Lampard. Right back to the point a few years ago where on TalkSport in the UK, which you can get on Sirius at some points as well. They were criticising him on air, and he phoned in and defended himself, and it was so good. He was brilliant, and he had very good points. And also, I learned today he has a dog called Minnie, and it's quite cute.
You're learning all the important things.
Yeah.
And while we're on the subject of criticism and complaint, we did have Sean Dyche not being pleased in his post-match interview. We have a shared document where we just kind of put in our notes that, like, so we're both kind of on the same page, Ryan and I, before we start recording. I logged in to do thumbs down to Sean Dyche, and you had already done it.
Yeah, so Sean Dyche, after this game, complaining about the diving in this game, I suppose, from Hudson-Odoi with that penalty situation. Yep. That's got to go out of the game. It's ridiculous now. Young players diving. I just can't stand it. It's not encouraging for the game of football. I'm really worried for the game of football. Where do we start with this one, Sean? For a start, where have you been? It's 2019. This diving thing is not new. This is not a phenomenon.
Is it not? This has existed before?
It's really not. This is a thing we've talked about in the past. And not only that, but in relation to Burnley. I mean, some of your players, what's Burnley's strength? Sort of winning free kicks and getting set pieces. You do that sometimes by falling over. Have a word with Ashley Barnes. He's always falling on the floor. I mean, it just seems like, come on, Sean. Really? Is that all you got after this result? Is that all you've got?
Yeah, and that was actually why I wanted to give him thumbs down, because I call this like the Arsene Wenger special of losing a game in pretty dramatic fashion and then talking about a very minor point as though that was the main takeaway. And Dyche said, he said, I don't want to take away from the main point, which is that Chelsea were too strong overall. That was the very end of his comments. But if 90% of it is, it wasn't fair, something's got to be done, this isn't right, things are wrong, society's terrible, millennials are the worst, then you end it with and they were pretty good too. You have sort of downplayed what they did. And it is that tactic, but it was a bit of an eye roll for me of really? You're going to go with that one after this loss? All right. If that's what you want to do, Sean, that's what you want to do.
Got to say something, I guess, isn't he?
I suppose he does. So anything else from Chelsea-Burnley?
I'm all happy with that one.
All right, then. Before we get to a couple more Premier League games, we should talk about today's sponsor, our friends at SeatGeek. Do you ever feel, Ryan, like ticketing websites make getting to the event difficult on purpose? It's as if they're so big they can get away with not caring about customer experience. Do you feel that way?
I feel that way all the time. Sometimes their sites are annoying. They don't have the events you want. The real question is, how easy would it be if those ticketing sites actually cared like SeatGeek does? And I do love me some SeatGeek. As we know, we've talked about this many times on this show. It's a very simple site to use. They have a rating system for their tickets based on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being it's a great deal, you get a green light. 1 or even lower than 1 in the 0 points. That's red. That's not so hot. So I'm looking at the moment, for example, I'm going to see some Gamecocks football. Some
really?
Of the gridiron next weekend against Vanderbilt. The two worst teams in the SEC East. I can't wait for it. But you can get tickets right now on SeatGeek for that in the section I'm sitting in, which I probably shouldn't divulge here, but it's about $69.
I think you should.
That's a good... I've got nice seats. I've got a friend who's got nice seats. But it's $69 at the moment, which is very, very good value. I think that's cheaper than what I paid.
There we go.
There's lots of great stuff, and it's concerts on here as well. I've just noticed Billie Eilish is on tour. If you want to hear a young person whisper some lyrics for a few hours, go see her. That one's quite expensive, though, because she's very hot right now. But you can see it for a good price on SeatGeek.
That's my favorite description of Billie Eilish I've ever heard. Aside from Rainn Wilson when he's interviewing her, insisting on calling her Billie Eyelash, I believe it is, for the entire interview. That's good times.
Well, I'd like to see her live because I just wonder how that voice she does on the record translates because she does just speak quietly, basically, right?
A little bit. It's a little bit of that. It's a little bit. It's like it's the pop equivalent of mumble rapping, I guess I feel like.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, if that's not your speed, or if you don't enjoy us mocking Billie Eyelash, if you will,
I like it for the record.
What's that?
I like her for the record. I wasn't being too mean.
Yeah, see, so do I too. I'm not thrilled that that's the way that ended up coming off. But whatever. Billie Eilish doesn't matter, or doesn't mind. Doesn't mind. She does matter. Oh boy. All right. I'm going to move swiftly on to say you could also get tickets to the various MLS playoffs that are still ongoing, including Toronto at Atlanta United.
Can I see any more with nets in obscuring my vision? Is that something I can see now?
Unfortunately, you can't. I did enjoy the feeling of watching it as though we were at a bad seafood bar.
Yeah.
That was a fun little experience. Luckily, we are done with that. Instead, we have some nice venues to go see games. You could see, obviously, LAFC at home. You could see Atlanta at home. The Atlanta tickets, Atlanta v. Toronto, I believe, start at $76. So you could pay that. Or you could get a little bit of a discount because SeatGeek will give you $10 off your first purchase. All you need to do is use our promo code, which is what, Ryan Bailey? How can people use that promo code?
That promo code, you get yourself on that SeatGeek app and you type in T, then S, then S. That stands for Total Soccer Show. You get $10 off your first purchase with the promo code TSS. Do it, baby.
Do it, baby. All right. So thank you very much to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's episode. Couple more Premier League games we got to get to, Mr. Bailey, starting with Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2. I'm going to go thumbs uncertain to Granit Xhaka because Granit Xhaka booed off the pitch in this one. He substituted it off. He cups his ear to the crowd, which brings about more booing. He mouths an FU, we think, to the crowd. He takes his jersey off. He goes straight down the tunnel. This is, we should remind people, Arsenal's captain. And the reaction to this seemed split. It seemed like a decent number of people thought that it was unfair, that Arsenal fans are blaming him, and that he's not necessarily at fault. And certainly it's the case that he's not picking himself to keep starting these games. Then a larger majority felt that he kind of disrespected the shirt while he was playing, and then once he subbed off. Unai Emery seems to have been displeased by this one. He said they're going to have to revisit it and talk with Granit Xhaka and make some steps and everything like that. So it did seem like Unai Emery was sort of okay with putting it on his player. Ryan, what do you make of this situation?
When I first saw your thumbs wavering on this one, Tatey, I was like, why, bro? What's making you think it might be thumbs up for Xhaka here? Because he's behaved pretty badly there. The theatrics he gave when he was taken off, admittedly, when your captain's taken off after an hour, it's not great optics for anybody. But then the more I thought about it, you're quite right there. This, I think, is... Because it wasn't even a terrible game for Xhaka. I think this is more about Emery's failings in his tactical style than Xhaka's failings. Right? That's what we're getting at here, isn't it? Because
I think so.
It seems that... I don't know... If you saw how beautiful those PlayStation goals that they used to score under Arsene Wenger, can you imagine this team doing that right now? It's all very Route One, hoofy, try to get it to the big man sort of style, isn't it? It's a bit it's a bit Wimbledon like my team back in the day. Even though I have to say we were better at it than that, but
I mean, you all pulled it off. You won some stuff at least.
Yeah, and I just think I don't know. I think that if Emery sticks around much longer, which I suppose he will, I don't see this team achieving much. I don't see this team sticking around in the top six too much longer because it's just not great. It's not great.
It's really not. And to your point about hoofing it long, kind of being very direct, it is worth noting that they do have a certain Mesut Ozil who could come in and be a potential creative playmaker. That was the other strange aspect of this game is I believe there were chants of Ozil ringing out around the stadium during this game. I went and read a couple like post-match things from Arsenal fans, not Arsenal Fan TV, not going there. But it's a curious thing that it seems now that Ozil has gone into this like, oh, he's so unappreciated by Unai Emery. He could be the difference maker. He could be the one that really turns our attack on and gets us going. And this is still the same Mesut Ozil that has been criticized sort of fairly routinely for a lack of effort, a lack of enthusiasm, a lack of intensity. Like Ryan, I hesitate to keep asking you where are you on this one, but I don't feel like I know enough to be pro Mesut Ozil. Everything I have sort of read and understood from Arsenal fans is that he has not covered himself in glory, at least in recent memory. Yeah. Like, am I mistaken here, or is that where you are on Mesut Ozil as well?
I think I'm there, and also I think that there must be some behind the scenes nonsense that's gone on that we don't have the full picture on for him to be, not even featuring here. And I just think when I think of Arsenal in sort of the early 2000s to mid 2000s, you think of a really nice central midfield. You think of nice passing going through the middle, and that's just not happening at all here. It's like it's bypassed most of the time, except for when Guendouzi is used to rugby tackle players. We'll get to that later.
We will.
But it just seems like it's all just down the flanks, try and get a cross in, and get a billion crosses in per game, and you might get one in the net. And both the Arsenal goals came from those wide positions, or corners, weren't they? But it was all just coming from the flanks, wasn't it? And it's just not very inspiring stuff, is it?
It was not, and I would say more inspiring to me was Wilfried Zaha, who had another strong performance. He was vindicated. He earns the first penalty after he's booked for diving, VAR reviews, penalty given, yellow card rescinded, apology from the official, no less. That allows Palace to pull one back. Then I'm going to say thumbs up to him for, essentially, as you said earlier, just being straight up rugby tackled, maybe even NFL tackled by Guendouzi when he was on the break at the very end of the game. Yeah. And I've watched this several times. I am still confused as to why this was not a red card, because it is like 80 yards from the Arsenal goal, but Guendouzi is definitely the last man. Zaha has played this ball into space, so at that point it's going to be a sort of foot race. He's got a couple of yards, in my mind, on the players around him. I kept seeing Arsenal fans say, like, oh, no, he wasn't last man because the other defenders had caught up, and to my vision, it looked like he was spear tackled and then they caught up, which will do that. That's the point of tackling somebody. Yeah. So I was really confused by this only being a yellow card. I'm assuming it's because of the distance to goal. Ryan, do you think this should have been a red?
Well, let me start off asking you a question. Have you seen that video of Boris Johnson playing a Soccer Aid game like years ago where he goes in for that tackle, which is essentially a rugby tackle at waist level?
Oh, no, I think you've told me about this previously, and I have yet to watch it still.
It's on the Intertube, so it's Boris Johnson, who came from a school that probably only played rugby, doing as best he can to stop a player, literally by doing a rugby tackle. And it's exactly what Guendouzi did in this situation. Mm-hmm. And by the letter of the law, when I see that, I agree with you, that's outrageous. How is that not a red? Because he's the last man. Zaha is absolutely away. He's only got the keeper to beat in that instance. But then it makes me think, hang on, Guendouzi actually pulled off a smart move here, because when would a ref give a red card for that in the player's own half? That doesn't really ever happen, does it? It's only going to be. It shouldn't be that way, but it only seems it's that way when you're north of the halfway line, right?
Yeah, I guess that is probably it. I think it's probably the distance from goal combined with the maybe had some defenders who could have caught up and at least slowed him down. So it wasn't necessarily denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. I would actually give a little bit of credit to Guendouzi. I mean, he goes for it maybe more than he needs to, but that is why he's there, is to stop the counterattack from happening. And I think you're absolutely right that if he sort of slows down and tries to shepherd Zaha one way, he either gets blown past or is in a sort of 50-50 pursuit where he almost certainly is still going to have to do that, except if it happens 20 yards up the field, it probably is a red card. So to your point, I think it is a bit of clever play, albeit very obviously illegal play from Guendouzi.
It was quite a lot less graceful than the Pep Guardiola school of tactical fouling, but it was a tactical foul.
It was. So, I guess well done to Wilfried Zaha. Less well done to Arsenal, who I'm sure will not be too thrilled with that result. 2-2, that one finishes. No. Let's talk about another one that had slightly more goals. Only a few more, which is to say more than double. Southampton 0, Leicester 9. I don't know where to start with this, aside from to say that I feel like you and I were early on the Leicester under Brendan Rodgers bandwagon as that's a very good combination and this could work very well. This game makes me feel even more vindicated about that position.
Yeah, definitely. They still look absolutely wonderful, don't they?
They really do.
Vardy and Perez both getting hat-tricks in this one, overshadowing the Pulisic hat-trick. They got 2 hat-tricks on their team.
How dare you?
Sorry. Biggest away victory in Premier League history here. Leicester now have 20 points from 10. That's 1 more point than they had at this point when they won the league. So they're in better form than when they won the league right now. It seems like top 6 is nailed on for this team at the moment. And it was just as bad as Southampton were. Leicester were brilliant, weren't they? Mm-hmm. Look at some of the quality of those goals as well. They weren't tap-ins or anything. Like Perez, that for the 4-0, that half volley was brilliantly executed. Vardy for the following goal, where he wrong foots a defender. It was lovely. Then Perez did that one where he chested it down and volleyed it himself, which was like school playground, the greatest goal you can score. Yeah. And the Maddison free kick, this was high quality stuff.
Even the Tielemans through traffic for I think the 3rd goal where he settles it. He's 12 yards from goal. He has a bunch of bodies in front of him, but he picks his spot, gets off a rabbit punch quick shot, and just puts it back corner. It's an excellent goal. It's technically perfect, and that's kind of how Leicester were in this game.
Yeah, and as you say, we have to say that Southampton had to get a thumbs down for this. They were pretty awful. 19 goals conceded in their last 5 games. They're looking pretty doomed. Ralph Rabbit Hutch, Ralph Hasenhüttl, not looking too strong he's looking like a good candidate for the next manager to go at the moment, isn't he? But I've got another unfortunate thumbs down, Tate, for a poor.
I shouldn't laugh. I feel so bad.
A poor 13-year-old named Tom Sherburn from Somerset, England, which the BBC website claims is 4 hours from Southampton. It's not. It's a bit shorter.
I didn't think anything was 4 hours from anything in England.
No, exactly. If it's coming from Ireland, maybe. But
swimming from Ireland. Yeah.
Basically, this was his first ever Southampton game he came to. And his side were thrashed 9-0. His dad took him along to this game. Here, the quote from his dad. He waited so long for it. Just walking to the ground, you could see his face light up at how fantastic it was going to be with all the swirling rain. Swirling rain? Fantastic? Okay. And the lights and the TV cameras and lots of people. This is a wonderful Friday night for him. And that lasted 10 minutes, said Dad. And Dad said to his credit that he was quite proud of him because the first time he said, "Can we go home now, Dad?" was in the 80th minute when I think,
there we go.
Not all 9 had gone in by that point. So credit to young Tom there. But that's a rough introduction to the beautiful game in person, isn't it? Oh, boy.
I cannot imagine that, aside from at least he has a hilarious like soccer anecdote for the rest of his life.
I mean, he made the BBC website, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess he can frame that one. That can make him feel a little bit better. It is to his credit because the commentators at a certain point just started narrating how many people were left in the stadium after each goal, and I think it was the fourth goal is when I believe they described it as a deluge of fans to the exits. So that he held on to the 80th minute is pretty impressive.
And they said the dad in this story also says, quote, "We saw people leaving at 12 minutes in." That's an early one to leave. Make it to half time at least, even if you're getting a drubbing, surely. Wow.
I mean, yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's because I go back to, it's not just you leaving, it's you, visibly leaving the stadium while there are still 11 players, or in this case, 10 players, trying to make something happen. So that doesn't really help your team pick it back up, though. I think at 2-0, the commentators said this could get very, very bad for Southampton. And they were right. 7 more goals. So maybe you can forgive the fans a little bit, especially since the conditions were not great. But with all that said, I do feel very bad for both Tom and Mike Sherburn.
Yeah, if I might give one thumbs up to Southampton, though, to their credit, this weekend, this Sunday, in fact, was the anniversary of Vichai Chivanda-Pranada's death, the Leicester owner who had the helicopter accident this time last year. Southampton had a very, very classy response to this. They put him on the front cover of their programme. They had him up on the screens in the stadium. I thought that was pretty wonderful, and it shows that, Southampton are a pretty classy organisation in general, so thumbs up to that.
Thumbs up indeed. Thumbs up to the Premier League this weekend for giving us some compelling stuff to talk about. We've got NWSL, we've got U17s, we've got some quick hits from around the world. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about today's sponsor, Away, thoughtful luggage for the modern travel. Away Travel creates thoughtful products designed to change how you see the world. They started with the perfect suitcase, crafted with features that make travel more seamless. And they offer a range of essentials that solve real travel problems. The one that Daryl is obsessed with, he talked about multiple times when we were in the office on Friday, was the battery, how long it can charge your phone, how many times it can charge your phone. He's obsessed with this concept, I believe because he travels more than I do and because he gets tired of having a dead phone.
That is a very good feature. Also, I like a removable laundry bag to separate dirty clothes out because I always end up
that. I didn't know that was a thing.
Because I end up packing like a nice bag, either a carry bag or like a nice quality bag from a store to put your dirty clothes in. To have that already as a function in your bag, I like that a lot. I'm nerdy enough to really appreciate the having 4 360 spinner wheels on each corner of a bag because I like to do the little twirl when I'm walking through the airport. Do you ever do the twirl?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got to dance, you got to push the bag ahead of you and spin it, so it's like elaborately twirling. It's like you're filming a Gap commercial or a Brazil soccer commercial, one or the other, whichever you prefer.
And honestly, with these bags, they are really nice-looking bags. The carry-on they've got here in a range of materials and some really nice backpacks as well on the away side. And it makes me think of the song "Sail Away, Sail Away, Sail Away," which is nice because that was in a Netflix show which I watched today with Paul Rudd, a new show. It's quite good. I'm going off topic. The point is these bags are great. And
I appreciate it because I heard that song coming from our upstairs bedroom when my wife was watching that show earlier today as well. So there you go. You're in good company, Ryan.
I think they played it several times in the opening episode. That's why it's on my mind. But yeah, these bags really they look like really high quality stuff. I'm impressed.
And I'm going to quote not really quote, but I'm going to reference an old Eddie Murphy stand-up special, which is not the best, but he refers to a certain STD as being like luggage in that it sticks with you forever. And in this case, away luggage will stick with you forever because they have a limited lifetime warranty, which means they fix or replace your bag if it ever gets damaged. So you really can have it for life, and especially with the high quality, the durability of the product, you know that you really could have it forever.
Absolutely, and a 100-day trial as well. A 100-day trial, you say,
100.
Ryan? Yes, a 100-day trial. You can try any of the away products on the road. Try them out. Take them on a few planes. Shove them up there.
Shove them up there.
Make sure you get your early boarding so you can get your case up there in time. That's very important for you. If you want to look like Clooney and up in the air, you need one of these things, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely do. And that is the goal always, is to be a sort of sad person who fires people for a living. I think that's what we want, right?
I meant more the slick going through the airport and having things all organized very nicely. But you can go with that angle too if you want, sure.
All right. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but apparently I have strong feelings. And I have strong feelings about Away because they're helping our listeners get $20 off a suitcase. You can visit awaytravel.com/TSS and use promo code TSS during checkout. One thing we learned prior to starting recording, courtesy of Ryan doing some searching, you've got to use non-capital TSS. It's got to be lowercase TSS. Promo code doesn't matter as much, but if you're going to the website, awaytravel.com/TSS, that is lowercase. And then the promo code can be whatever you want.
Lowercase to get your sweet, sweet case. Awaytravel.com/TSS for $20 off. Oh, yeah.
This is why we pay Ryan Bailey $4 million a show, for that type of witticism right there. We may be overpaying you, I'm not sure. Let's move to the NWSL final, Ryan, which happened in your home state. I guess your newly home state, probably not your original home state, but now it's yours. North Carolina Courage, 4-0 victors over the Chicago Red Stars. And I'm going to start off by giving thumbs up to Dabinia for being awesome. It was an incredible amount of effort to be in position to score the opener. She basically picks up like she's the outlet for a pass when North Carolina are trying to play out of the back. She plays it forward. She runs probably 80 yards to be able to get on the end of a loose ball. She ends up finishing it. But the thing that I really loved about this one, I tweeted this out. I have yet to hear anybody reject my theory, so I'm sticking with it. She kind of held the hands up, shrugged a little bit, made that sort of face. I tweeted it again if you don't know what I'm talking about. But I have to believe that it was that sort of I don't know, sort of gesture. And I'm assuming it relates to the fact that she was controversially left off the NWSL Best 11 list. Several different athletes came out in defense of Dabinia specifically that she should have been on it. And so to me, that felt like her sort of saying, I don't know. I mean, I did just score the opener, but I guess I'm not good enough.
Had a great performance, though, with the opening. I think she got an assist later on as well, if I'm not mistaken. Dabinia is a great name as well. Is it just?
It really is.
Is it Debbie in Brazilian? It's wonderful.
I kind of hope not, but yeah, but if so, I'm okay with that too because it is a great name and it's representative of just how great this North Carolina Courage team is because they were dominant pretty much from the opening whistle. Maybe Chicago had a couple chances, but for the most part, it was all North Carolina. They overwhelmed the Chicago Red Stars, and I found it really, really compelling to watch because of just how good they were. Whenever you're watching a team that is like that next level, it is just a genuine delight. And that was Abby Dahlkemper and Abby Erceg shutting everything down, but also Dahlkemper's ability to play a ball was phenomenal. Jessica McDonald, Lynn Williams causing massive problems, and I'm now obsessed with both of them starting with the U.S. women's national team going forward. Krista Dunn scrapping her way to a goal because I feel like she was just fighting for it. She wanted to get her name on the score sheet. Sam Mewis the same, risking a concussion to get on the end of a ball in from Abby Dahlkemper does, I think, end up in a collision with Alyssa Nair, the goalkeeper for Chicago, but it doesn't matter because she gets that fourth goal. I just thought it was, from start to finish, an incredible performance from the North Carolina Courage.
Definitely, and I don't think it's a step too far to say this team is the best team this league has seen. I know it's a young league.
Yep.
Of course, I think Caitlin Murray on Yahoo was saying this team is a dynasty now. I think that's probably fair to say. Back-to-back wins, and they won the Shield pretty easily too in this season. I think they've only lost one of their last 10 matches in the final run-in. Scored quite a lot of goals in those matches too. Just a lot of fun to watch. Can I be a slight Dabinia Downer and go for a thumbs down for Alyssa Nair?
Downer. Ryan, you know what? $8 million now. We're moving it up for that one. Well done,
yeah! Sir. That's how you get those raises, baby. Alyssa Nair, I don't like to dig in too much, but I know she got a lot of stick in the summer as well. But like on that first goal, it seems like she clattered straight into one of her own defenders. Look, she was a bit out of position for Crystal Dunn's third, I thought.
Wait, I'm sorry, who was this?
For Alyssa Nair.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Okay.
I thought she, a little bit out of position for that third goal as well. And the fourth goal, with the header that comes in from the set piece, I thought she sort of came for it and completely missed it as well. I didn't think she covered herself in glory in this one at all, I'm afraid to say.
I would agree with that. And I did think that even some of the mistakes that weren't necessarily her fault, like she didn't drop a cross or anything like that, it's still a sort of failure to organize and police your 18-yard area. That like she doesn't make sure that she's got everybody marked up for that Dabinia goal. I think it's that one that she gets it's Jess McDonald, excuse me, that she just gets passed off from defender to defender to defender, and then the final defender just leaves her. Like it was a lack of discipline from the Chicago defense, and your goalkeeper who's facing the field and should be able to spot these types of things. I do agree with you that it was not a strong performance, and we've seen criticism from her from people who pay more, I think, regular attention to the NWSL, especially this summer in the Women's World Cup. There was criticism that I didn't quite go along with in that moment, but watching her today, I did remember some of that and think like, okay, I guess I see a bit more where this is coming from. Not to say that she's a bad goalkeeper, not to say that she should be dropped, but by contrast, I wrote down the pronunciation so I wouldn't ruin it, and now I can't find it, so I'm stalling for time. Lube, the North Carolina goalkeeper, I thought she did excellent in goal, so much so that I had to go and research her name to make sure that I said it properly when I said it on this show.
Very nice indeed. And
I try.
I thought, this was a great, a great advertisement for the league this game. Well, not from Chicago's perspective, perhaps,
not so
much. But the best team did win the league after all. And I've got a question for you here. We know that Louisville are joining as the 10th club soon, and it's not long ago that this league, it was not, what was it, 2012 when the professional league was disbanded? Was it 2011, 2012? Around that time, wasn't it? Not that long ago that this season, this professional league is quite young. Do you think that more MLS sides are going to start to see the worth of, maybe whether it's commercial or otherwise, of getting an NWSL representative? We know obviously there's a few that have already, but I was thinking like Los Angeles. Why don't one of the MLS teams have a representative here?
I think there were conversations at the beginning of the season that maybe LAFC were going to launch one, that Mia Hamm, who is part owner of LAFC, was going to be involved in that one. Those talks seem to have cooled / been put in the fridge temporarily. And I would like to believe, to your initial question, that it is a thing that MLS sides will start to sort of embrace and move towards. I will say, though, the pragmatist in me thinks that a lot of MLS decisions come down to money and come down to owners want to be able to make money. And we go to the minor league example of the Lansing Ignite this week, played one season and then didn't make enough money or lost too much money, whichever way you want to look at it. Owner said, never mind, we're done. And I would be afraid of an MLS team sort of doing that for good PR, and then when they don't immediately make a bunch of money, thinking never mind, this isn't what we want. Because at this point, we are like, it is still in like recent enough history, the league failing, that we don't want that to happen again. And I feel like it's in a position of starting to move back up, of getting more teams, getting more coverage, getting more interest, that maybe if you had a team come in and not take it that seriously, or two teams come in and their thoughts are elsewhere, it doesn't necessarily help grow the league because it doesn't increase the product.
Indeed. Onwards. And I still want the title to remain in Carolina, though, please.
Was that your southern accent?
Carolina, that's how you say it.
Oh boy! All right, we're just going to move swiftly away from that one. We're going to move from a happy topic to a sad topic. The U17 World Cup is underway. The U.S. kicked off their opener in the group stage, get an early goal from Gianluca Busio. Everything is great, and then they concede 4 and pick up a red card on the way to a 4-1 loss in the opener against Senegal. And I'm going to start off by saying thumbs down. You could really say thumbs down to a lot of different things from this team, but thumbs down to U.S. set piece defending. Ryan, were you able to watch some of this game and see how poorly it went?
I certainly did watch. The highlights of this one. I watched actually Japan-Netherlands afterwards in full.
Nice.
I managed to miss this one, but by the way, Japan looked pretty good in that, and coming up in the group, that should be a concern for this US team as well. But I mean, it was a good start, obviously, with Busio's goal. He was born in Greensboro, by the way. More Carolina action for you there. But there was some pretty high quality.
On brand. Ryan Bailey is on brand.
Absolutely. But I thought, to be fair, so a couple of Senegal's goals, easy for me to say, were really good. Like, the equaliser was kind of really nice volley and turn on the edge of the box from Sullivan Faye. The defensive line was very badly caught out by the second one, though, which was literally keeper hoofing it downfield. Unai Emery would have been proud of that one, wouldn't he? Hoofing it downfield to the route one, straight in the back of the net for that one.
Yeah.
And the third goal was from a different Faye. It was another Emery-style goal, I suppose, or maybe more of a Man City, because it was along the floor, but down the right channel, cross in, popped in the back of the net. And then that, as you say, set-piece weakness for the fourth, with Pape Sarr's very, very, very sexy free kick.
Mm-hmm. And whereas Senegal were, I don't know how many varies you threw in there, but I think it was 3, and I would agree, and I would add another one, very, 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 very sexy. The U.S. was the opposite of that, because I focused on set piece defending in the beginning, because the equalizer comes in the second/third minute of injury time in the first half, because there was a VAR challenge which set the clock back a little bit. But I kept waiting to try to figure out, because I knew the result going into it, and I was very confused as to how Senegal had been able to get a goal with literally 10 seconds left in the half. And it's just the U.S. kind of going to sleep, and I think hoping they can make it to halftime to make some adjustments. And I also think that when you're scored on that late, it really, I've talked about this before, but it makes that halftime team talk really challenging, because you've gone from, we're 1-0 up, here are all of our plans, you've talked it out with your coaches, and now on the fly, you've got to figure out how we're going to adjust. And I don't think the U.S. really got there. And so, to your point, that second goal, I believe it's the second goal, the breakaway with the long ball over the top.
Yes.
Watching that again, and you can see Adam Armour jogging back, and I think he just maybe never thinks he's going to be able to make a play on the first attacker for Senegal, which is true. He's 30 yards ahead of him, but Aliou Balde, the actual goal scorer, just coasts right by him without really going that fast. It's not as though Balde is 100 times faster or anything like that. It was just sort of lazy defending from Adam Armour. I feel weird calling out a 17-year-old, but so be it. And that's where Senegal's goal comes from, is just kind of lazy work from the U.S., and even the red card that leads to the free kick for the fourth goal from Tavon Gray is him, another long ball that he just sort of fails to control. He tries to chest it down and misses it, and that leads to now a kind of a 50-50 foot race that he realizes he's losing, pulls the player down, gets that red card, and it just from start to finish, really not start to finish because the U.S. get the opener, but it just seemed like a comprehensive loss for the United States in that I don't think anybody really covered themselves in glory. There were moments when the team seemed not particularly motivated, and that is not a thing I thought I would see from Rafael Vicky's side. So, I think Japan and the Netherlands should be pretty optimistic about their chances against this U.S. team if they continue to play this way.
It seems that way. Maybe this will turn things around. But are there any positive signs you see from this? Because I do enjoy seeing Gio Reyna on the field there. Of course, he's son of Claudio and Daniel Egan. Surely the most American soccer person in the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a positive. If you're Senegalese, there are lots of positives because they really did look rattled after the United States scored. And it seemed like their keeper kept coming off his line, and Ba was the goalkeeper for Senegal, and just kept coming off and like, dropping the ball and never seemed like he was going to control the ball cleanly. At one point, he had to do a step over, and if he hadn't pulled that one off, it's definitely in the back of the net and 2-0 to the United States. But then from there, they really do settle, and after the first 10, 15 minutes, they really dominate the whole game, and it's a credit that they're able to kind of settle down, figure it out, find a way through, and pretty much tear the United States apart. It was nice to see Gio Reyna in there. It was good to see Gianluca Busio getting a goal, but I would be hard-pressed to find positives from this result. Even though it's 17-year-olds, even though the United States has never won the U17 World Cup, this, by all accounts, is not as strong team as it was 2 years ago when last we saw the U17s play in a World Cup, but still, it was a bit of a bummer, especially where all things are on the men's side of U.S. soccer.
Yeah, it seems like it's a bit of a pessimistic time for the men's side of things,
Yeah, a little bit. So let's just move swiftly away from that one. We'll obviously talk more about the U17 World Cup as the U.S. plays more games and hopefully performs better. But now, Ryan, as we get towards the end of the show, not quite to the end of the show, we're going to do some quick thumbs. These could just be like quick hits, general points, whatever you want to get to. But we're not going to go in-depth on a lot of stuff, but we will talk about a few different topics. Where would you like to go first?
Can I have a very, very quick thumbs up to Granada in La Liga,
yes, can.
who went top of La Liga this weekend. They beat Real Betis 1-0, basically because of Catalonian politics, which one game we should have been talking about in this weekend review is the Clásico, which didn't happen.
It was on the calendar, and then it was removed.
It was indeed. So
it was on our calendar of like, I can't wait. We're going to talk about this. Ryan's going to have stuff to say. It's going to be epic. And then no longer.
And no longer. But hey, credit to Granada, baby.
Yeah, I'll take that one. I'm going to stay negative when it comes to U.S. soccer for a moment. I'm going to say thumbs down to the amount of Weston McKennie that was involved in Schalke v. Dortmund, which is to say that he was not involved at all. I'm not going to go too deep on that game here. Ryan, you may have some points, but one thing I did want to say is we are going to have Matt Herman of the Talking Football podcast on later this week to kind of do a Bundesliga catch-up and also talk about some young Americans in the league, talking about Weston McKennie, what Matt has made of him, as well as just the overall league so far. So we will do more Bundesliga, but Ryan, anything from Schalke Dortmund you wanted to get to?
Were you not content with the amount of pensive shots of McKennie sitting in the stands?
That didn't really help. No, it was slightly more anxiety inducing of like, why is he there? What's going on? Is everything okay? I can't handle this. I just got over this with Pulisic. Now we're in the Abraham watch. I don't need a McKennie watch as well.
And anxiety inducing for Dortmund fans as well. This one, not covered themselves in glory here. The team playing pretty poorly. Manager and Marco Reus giving some pretty negative comments after this one. Seems like Lucien Favre might be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
But credit to Schalke for pulling this one out of the bag in a big derby game.
Yeah, I did see a few Dortmund fans tweeting or writing things along the lines of, I'm sad we lost, but there's also a chance it means that Lucien Favre is fired faster, so I'm okay with that. So I guess that's the silver lining for Dortmund fans?
Sure.
Sure. I will say thumbs up to Celtic fans. I enjoyed this one immensely. They had Lazio midweek in the Europa League. They had a tifo, I think, that was essentially reminding Lazio of their right-wing leanings by, I forget what the exact slogan was, but it had the image of Mussolini being hanged, which is an image I am okay with. And then Mussolini's granddaughter was, I guess, offended by that. She did not enjoy it. She was very upset, and so I'm giving thumbs up to Celtic fans for responding with a new banner this week that had some choice words for Mussolini's daughter. I guess we tend not to swear on the show, but if I do it in Italian, I think it's okay. Alessandra Affanculo, and you guys can Google that and see what it means.
Honestly, that kind of language.
I know. I apologize. I apologize, Ryan. I hope I didn't offend your delicate sensibilities.
Can you try again in a Scottish accent?
Alessandra Affanculo.
That was really good.
I think I made a bit long there on the Kula, but
I'm
whatever.
impressed. You wouldn't make the mistake of buying Hibs instead of Hearts, I can tell you that much.
Ryan Bailey. Whenever anybody references Succession that isn't me, it makes me very, very happy. Daryl, I think, grits his teeth and gets through my Succession references, but well done, sir. Well done to you. I do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any other thumbs for you this weekend?
Shall we touch very gently on Le Classique in Liga?
We probably should.
Paris Saint-Germain getting a 4-0 win over Marseille. They very much got the better of this one. There was no Neymar in this one, no Julian Draxler. Edinson Cavani very much being kept out of this team by a thumbs-up candidate, Mauro Icardi, getting 2 goals here. He can't stop scoring, 7 in his last 7. Some very nicely taken goals here, proving that if you do sit on your hands for several months and moan in Italy, then good things will come to you. Is that the moral? I think that's the moral.
I think that's the moral. I did enjoy, whereas I did not enjoy the shots of pensive Weston McKennie, I did enjoy disinterested but kind of annoyed Neymar, and it did have that vibe of him being like, well, this isn't how it's supposed to go if I'm not here. They're not supposed to win this easily without me. Because Neymar, as you said, was not involved. Mauro Icardi certainly was, as was Kylian Mbappe. A double brace there, a brace for each. And Ryan, I'm going to say this. I think there's a chance that PSG win the league this season. I'm just going to throw it out there. I know it's early days. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but they are currently 8 points ahead with a plus 20 goal difference. That's sizable.
I've said it about Liverpool and I'll say it about PSG. If they don't win it this season, they never will, Tate. That's my opinion on these guys. And can I also say thumbs up big time to Kylian Mbappe, who just looked incredibly speedy. He looks like he's on double speed compared to everybody else, doesn't he? He looks great. Angel Di Maria had a really good one in this one as well. They're very much showing that they don't need Neymar and they don't need Cavani, I suppose. And let's pour some out for Eric Choupo-Moting, who's not getting back in this side now, is he?
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. No, he's probably not going to. To your point about Mbappe's speed, it doesn't seem fair that he is as fast as he is and has as good of control as he does. I don't understand how he can still dribble at an insane speed without really losing much and still controlling the ball. It kind of blows my mind, but makes him so excited to watch, especially because he has that explosive burst of pace on top. That acceleration is just so incredible that even for the fourth goal, I think it's like a 3v4. The Marseille backline stretched a bit, but it's still basically Mbappe. It's a great ball through from, I believe, Angel Di Maria, again, who had another strong game. But it's just him in a foot race, and he absolutely obliterates the entire Marseille defense and puts it away, and it's a great finish to add to the speed, to add to the control. Yeah, he's real good. I'm going to say Kylian Mbappe, also very good. And I do think we will see him involved in that Ballon d'Or conversation sooner rather than later, is my assumption.
I think so, and it might be damning him with faint praise, but when I saw that fourth goal, it just reminded me of classic Michael Owen. That was Michael Owen at 18 years old getting past the Argentinian defence. It just looked like that to me, and but
Mbappe seems capable of coherent thought, so he's got that advantage over Michael Owen as well.
But can Mbappe fly a fake helicopter over Dubai and have no personality while describing it? That's the question.
I mean, we're going to have to wait and see. I think he will probably have the money to be able to try something like that, and I'm excited to see if he does. And if he does, then we will, I'm sure, mention it on our thumbs up, thumbs down weekend review. I might give him thumbs up for that because I assume it's a parody, an homage, a callback to Michael Owen doing it. So I will appreciate that. But Ryan, anything else you would like to add before we call this one quits?
Let's call this one quits. I think we've had quite a time. I'm not going to top Dabinya Downer, frankly, am I?
I don't think you are, and I don't think you ever will. Maybe you should just retire right now. That's it. No more sports for you. Let's move on.
Fair enough.
You can focus on country music and football.
Yay! My twin passions.
Of course. Well, as Ryan does that, I would just say thank you to everyone for listening. We will have Matt Herman of the Talking Football podcast back on this week, as well as a few more guests. Daryl's going to be out of town. We still have to make our announcement about where we're going to be this weekend, but here's a hint. It's not in this country. But until we get to do that, Ryan Bailey, I'll just say one more time, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Always a pleasure. Never a chore.